All right, y'all. So let's get into episode 3. So if you didn't know, I lost 200 pounds. And, I just felt in a place of like documenting my journey, kind of where I'm at, where I started from, how I did it. And last episode, I talked about my childhood and what it was like to grow up fat, which wasn't fun at all. But when I say that I've lost 200 pounds, for some odd reason, people tend to think that it was something that happened overnight. People tend to think that me losing weight happened in a matter of 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. But y'all, that is not the case. I have been on a weight loss journey, I feel like my whole life. And I told y'all back in episode 2, my mom, she didn't really buy certain things for the house. She wasn't just adding to the weight per se. She wasn't like buying junk food or pop or so. And because of that, I don't drink, pop or soda or things like that to this day. To this day. I don't drink those things, right? And like I said before, I do think that obesity can be genetic. But this is something that has been a lifelong journey for me, and something that I also had to come to the realization that like my weight is something that I'm going to have to battle for the rest of my life. And it sucks because you have people out there where their weight has never been an issue. It's not going to be an issue. And like that's something that they don't have to worry about. But me, on the other hand, my weight is something that I'll always struggle with. I'll always have to. And let me change the verbiage because I don't want to say struggle. But I will say that my weight is something that I'll always have to monitor. There we go, monitor. My weight is something that I'll always have to monitor for the rest of my life. And the thought of that can seem very daunting. It can, which is why I don't necessarily believe in diets, but I'll touch on that in another video, and why I believe in lifestyle change. Because when you talk about lifestyle change, it feels less daunting than feeling like you have to be on this diet for this certain amount of time, or that you can't have certain things, or that you have to restrict yourself. Because I'm one of those type of people, treat yourself, right? I don't necessarily believe the best lifestyle change is to restrict yourself of everything. Now, it just depends on what your goals are, how fast you're trying to achieve them, and like what your goals are, right? However, most people fail at the weight loss thing because they try to take everything out and they don't necessarily put precautions in place to ensure that they don't backslide. Or they might take everything out for a period of time, and then once they feel like they've reached their goal, then they go right back to the same habits, which repeats this cycle. But let me get back to the main point that I was trying to make, that my weight loss journey has been something that I have struggled with since a kid. And I can vividly remember, like, I did Weight Watchers for a period of time. My mom would take me to the meetings. And now that I'm thinking about it, as a kid, like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like, I'm at a Weight Watchers meeting trying to figure out, like, my eating and why am I as big as I am, right? Another thing that I can remember is signing up for various different weight loss programs that we're in. And y'all might not know the names of these things because I'm from Cleveland. So it was one in particular called like Fit Challenge. And that I had some success with. And I had some success with Weight Watchers. But once again, you got to think these programs cost money. And like these things add up, especially my mom was a single mom, right? So not only is she having an obligation to take care of us, but like also like she also wants to rectify like this weight thing that I am going through. So I think I can't remember how I got out of going to Weight Watchers. But anyway, at some point I transitioned into, and I might have lost about, going back to that, I might have lost maybe like 10, 15 pounds from that. But anyway, going back to like Fit Challenge. I signed up for that. I think I was about 13. And this is one of the reasons why I don't eat beef and pork to this day, because I had to sign up. And this is why I say I'm vegan-ish, right? But I'll talk about that. I had to give up beef and pork for this particular program. I was about 13 when I joined. And I want to say, I think I lost about between 30 and 40 pounds. And it was such a eye-opener for me because it was for the first time, like, I felt my clothes getting looser. I felt like I could see a change. And most people say that, like, you can't see the weight loss first, that other people will see it first. And it was definitely one of those situations where it took me a minute before I could even see a little bit of change, even though people who saw me on the regular were like, you sure it's coming down. Now, granted, I was still big, but I had lost a little bit of weight. I went there for a little bit, not too sure what happened, how I stopped going. And I also want to preface this as well because oftentimes people feel like people who are overweight or are considered obese, no, not obese, but obese, there's this misconception that they aren't active. And that's one of the things that I have been throughout my whole life. I've always played sports. I've always been on a basketball team, football. Even I was the first girl to play on my football team at my school. Volleyball, softball. So I was always active in some capacity. I was just big. And I can remember being the biggest person on the team, my uniform not fitting how I wanted it to, going to the opposing school and people talking about my weight and calling me fat. Of course, those things weren't fun, right? But I'm saying this to say that like my journey towards weight loss has always been a thing for me. I can't remember a point in time where I have not been trying to lose the weight. And I can remember I might have been a teenager, went to some amusement park, and everybody was getting ready to get on a roller coaster. And I got in line, even though I knew that it was a chance, because I was very, big at the bottom. And at the top too, but big at the bottom. I knew there was a chance that I wouldn't be able to get on the roller coaster. And when I got on, y'all, when I tell you my thighs was spilling up out that seat to the point where I couldn't even close it down, I ended up not being able to get on that ride. And I was so embarrassed because I kind of slid to the side so that nobody couldn't see me. So some people didn't know that I actually didn't get on the ride, but I feel like one or two people did know that I did not get on the ride. But it was a little embarrassing. Another scenario I can remember is being on airplanes and the fear of walking down the aisle and my hips swinging from seat to seat and needing a seatbelt extender and having to quietly call over like, flight attendant, or having a ping like, can I get a seatbelt extender? Like, you don't really realize how like not only is it embarrassing, but it's taxing. And for me, a turning point was not that I was insecure about me, because I've always had a great personality, and I told you I had to build that up quickly. And I always face card, never decline. Okay, as you can see quite clearly. Those things have never been an issue. For me, it became a point where I was extremely uncomfortable in the body that I was in. I couldn't move how I wanted to. I felt like a shell of myself. And I just wasn't comfortable. Like my thighs would rub together. I would get little boils and like, it became uncomfortable. And at my highest weight, I was 350 pounds. Well, at least the highest weight that I could like know of, because I think at some point I didn't really even weigh myself. But the highest weight that I can remember is being about 350 pounds. And a lot of that I ballooned up toward my senior year of high school up until my freshman year of college. That's when we got the meal swipes, and that's a whole other thing. Because now I can just eat what I want when I want. And then the food on campus, yeah, they got healthy options, but when you got the Donatos and when you got that little skimpy old salad, what you gonna do? And don't lie, you gonna go get you that Donatos, okay? But my weight has always been something that I have been trying to control. I have been trying to get a hold on, and it wasn't until 2012 where I truly took my journey seriously, and that's where the bulk of my weight loss began. The only thing is my weight would yo-yo. It would go up and down, up and down. I'll lose some, gain some, lose some, gain some, and I didn't feel like I had a big hold on it. And like I said, people think that weight loss is linear, but y'all, it actually is not. And when I told people I had dips where I went from like 350, I think the lowest I got down was like to 280. And then I got back up again. And I think one of the most pivotal points for me was around COVID time. And I know I wasn't the only person who gained that COVID 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, right? And I had got down, like I said, to like 270, 280. After that, even before then, I was kind of yo-yoing. But COVID came around, and I had never actually got 300 pounds again. However, when COVID came around, y'all, I got to like 296. Okay. And I was like, oh, hell to the no. I cannot go out like this. Like, I vowed to myself I would never be 300 pounds again. And when I talk about what I did and how I got the weight back off, that was a pivotal point for me after all my yo-yoing. Um, from there, I made a decision that I did not want to be, I just didn't want to be big or fat. Like, I got down in weight, but like, I was still always big. Like, this is the smallest I've ever been, probably in my entire life. Like, I probably weigh the same now that I did when I was in like the second or third grade. Okay. And it's mind boggling when you think about it, right? Um, but it has been a journey of weight loss. It has not been something that has been linear. I have been working my entire life to lose weight. And although I have gotten to my goal weight, I still have to monitor it. I still have to have precautions. I still have to have plans in place to ensure that I never get that size again. And it hurts sometimes because people say, well, you too small, you too skinny now. And it's very sad because even when I was too big, then I'm too big. I'm big as a house and I'm big and I'm fat. But like now that I'm smaller, it's still an issue and a problem. Oh, you too small now. You too small now. And I don't like that. I don't like when people tell me that I'm too small when I'm actually at a healthy weight. I love my body. Well, I would say this, yes, but do I want to get the skin cut off, the extra skin? Yes, I feel like that would create even more love for my body. But I absolutely love looking fit, athletic, and I don't desire this thick persona that people just, I gotta be thick, 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 thick. And half the time people don't be thick, y'all just be big. And y'all be calling it thick. But that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother day. But I prefer being this size, nice and petite. Okay? I like where I'm at. I like how I feel. I like how my clothes feel. I like my fat stomach. I like being able to just maneuver in society and just be normal and fit in. When I was big, you know, I would get stares and like people would look at me. And like now I just feel like I fit in. People just treat me so much better. I look better. I feel better. There's nothing that anybody could pay me to get back to that size again or even bigger. But I just wanted episode 3 to touch on that this has not been something that has been overnight. If you look at my Instagram, you'll see the progression of me gradually losing weight. And I have always been on a weight loss journey on my page, but like as of recently, I have started to make it a pivotal point or a greater point to showcase my journey. But this was not overnight. This is something that I have had to struggle with my whole life. It's something that I have to work to maintain for the rest of my life. And having children does scare me a little bit because I don't want to balloon up or gain that weight again. And like I said, I won't go into too much detail about that. But y'all, this has not been easy. It has not been linear. It has come with ups and downs. And it did not come overnight. It has taken me over 10 plus years to get here. And I finally got here. So y'all, that's episode 3.